The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk, powered by thegorillaposition.com and a proud part of the Roar Network. Presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network. And now in association with NJPW.com. We are sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you can get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast at the checkout. And now in partnership with Phoenix at fnxfit.com, where you can get 15% off all your health supplements like pre- and post-workout drinks, protein powder, super greens, and more when you use promo code TBTalkPod. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TBTalkPod. Listen to the podcast every Tuesday on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcast, Castbox, Spotify, and all those other podcatchers out there. As always, I am Karl Karufel.
And I am Big Joe.
And welcome everybody to our video podcast that you guys get one day early. Big Joe, welcome back. This is great. I'm fantastically loving this. This has been phenomenal for us so far. Things have been going great. How have you been, my friend?
Not too bad, man. Another week has come and gone in the world of professional wrestling as usual, and we've got plenty to talk about. But I thought something a little bit different this week. Usually we kind of shoot the breeze about how we've been kind of doing throughout the week, but something a little bit different this week. From day one, since we've been doing this podcast, Karl, we've been pretty blessed that we've had people following us from pretty early on. And I just wanted to take some time this week on this episode to give us a very special shout out to someone in particular. We're talking Mr. Jeff Chambers. He has been following us since we became a podcast, since we got outside of online radio, and this man listens to us every week, shares our stuff every week, and it just has been a loyal follower and supporter. And he is currently having health issues, specifically kidney issues, and I believe is waiting some type of surgery to fix that problem. So we just wanted to give him a shout out and say, thank you very much for your support and for always listening and sharing our stuff. And, we wish nothing but the best for you.
Definitely. And I mean, this is something that we want to continue to do for all of our supporters, everyone that has been there from day one and everyone that continues to help us out. But this is just a really special shout out because, I mean, since day one, like that is amazing and phenomenal. And we are ever grateful. Thank you.
Yes.
And whatever health conditions are going on, we offer the best. I mean, Big Joe said everything there so well. And I mean, yeah, thank you. On behalf of myself, at least, thank you for your support.
Yep, absolutely, man. And just briefly on this as well, with us going on video now, it's been quite the experience. We made the jump. Very famously, I was very reluctant to come over to the video platform, but Karl, it's been fantastic on the StreamYard platform. It's a new platform in itself. Yeah. And not to divulge any actual numbers, but we've seen our adoption rate of people coming onto this just. It's been pretty special, man. A lot of people are coming on. I know we have new sponsorship now. That's
right.
Turnbuckle Talk is we're moving on up to the east side, so to speak, and it's very cool to see. After so long, kind of going into this, to see results like this, it's been very encouraging, and it's makes me glad to be doing what we're doing, to say the least.
Very much so. And I'm so happy that you finally decided to jump on board with this. This is something that kind of behind the scenes for you people. Big Joe had been very reluctant for a while. I would say probably close to a year that I have been trying to get him to come over and do video podcasting. And finally we're here, and I'm loving this. The numbers have been fantastic. And they can just continue every week to grow. And we are so thankful about that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Finally. Thank you, Big Joe. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, well, let's kick off with one thing that you will notice with our run this week with our topics. It is very light on the WWE content. We're going to be talking a lot of stuff that is non-WWE, which kind of warms my heart a little bit. We're going to kick off with some New Japan Pro Wrestling here, Karl. They're back up and running, essentially. Actually, today, on record day, the live streaming of it happens very early, just given the time zone difference with over in Japan. These shows broadcast live typically around like 5-6 o'clock a.m. So it can be a little tough. It actually works out pretty well for me, given that I'm a night shift worker, so I can catch a good portion of this live if I so desire. So today we started off. We're on the road to the New Japan Cup. They did something today. It's not brand new. They've been doing this whole thing since the COVID-19 thing stuff has been going on, called the Together Project Special. I know the wording sounds a little bit different. It's Japan, folks. Sometimes they order their words a little backwards, but it's been their version of the YouTube kind of stuff to kind of keep the fan base kind of going. Press conferences, little vignettes and whatnot, little teasers. This was that, plus we actually had some in-ring work. It was an empty arena show, no fans. But one thing, if you do get a chance to watch this here, you will notice that just due to the commentary and the whole atmosphere, it's one of the first times where I've actually not even really kind of realized that the crowd wasn't there. Just the way it was executed and pulled off, it was really well done. They even had an intermission probably through to kind of sanitize the ring. They sent a crew out there to wipe the ropes down, the gates and all that. And it was very well executed. And we're leading to this New Japan Cup, and we're actually going to go through the bracket here, Karl, and see what how we think it's going to kind of all unfold here, because there's some really top-notch talent here, and of course maybe some that some people aren't aware of.
That's right. There are so many names that are in this, as you guys can see on the screen right now. This is a conglomerate of just the best of the best when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling right there. So many different names. Amazing brackets, and as you guys can see, it is broken down by dates. So 6/16, and then the 6/17, 6/22, 6/23, and then they go down from there. So I mean, they're really staggering things out to make this not necessarily a long drawn out, but this is the best way to do it. Instead of doing everything in like 3 days, do it over a few weeks, and you're going to keep the people happy, and you're going to keep them wanting to come back and watch some more.
Yep, it's a single elimination tournament bracket, culminating into that final matchup in Osaka-jo Hall, which is going to actually be in front of a actual audience. There are going to be audience members live in attendance there for that, so that's very encouraging to see. So let's kind of go through the first bracket here. We got Togi Makabe. Some of these names are, I'm starting to get used to some of these Japan names, but I do apologize if I do get some of them wrong. Yota Tsuji, which is somebody fairly new that I'm not that quite familiar with. Tomohiro Ishii, you just have to watch him. He's a little pit bull, that guy. He's kind of short, but he's powerful. We have El Desperado, who is somebody that's going to be of some significance in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have Toru Yano and Jado. Now, coming out of that, I think that you're looking at probably Ishii or probably, I will say, Jado or Yano coming out of that bracket, I think. Or, no, actually, sorry, going further down, we have Hanma and Hiromu Takahashi. That's right. Hiromu is probably going to be the one that likely comes out of that half of or at least that half of this side of the bracket, I think.
You know what? Honestly, I could see Yota. Yota Tsuji. I mean, I definitely could see that. And just given how fresh and new, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of good names that are in there, but I think that, going with somebody a little bit newer, especially coming down to, let's say, the next set or the next day, and all the brackets that are there and everyone that it could come down to, Yeah, go through, Joe, and read through the next set there. This on the 17th.
First one we got, I mean, is a name that I would hope is pretty familiar to a lot of professional wrestling fans out there, and if not, it will be very soon. We're talking Kazuchika Okada, arguably one of the best wrestlers currently active in the world of professional wrestling, versus Gato, which is somebody who actually turned on Okada, so Okada's going to get some measure of vengeance there, which is pretty cool. Yuji Nagata, who is actually somebody I've actually seen live in person, thanks to the War of the Worlds tour that happened here in Toronto. Got a chance to see him. Bit of an older guy, but he can still really go. Versus Minoru Suzuki, Karl. This is actually a matchup that I have circled that I really want to see. Nagata versus Suzuki. That's going to be just two guys just beating the piss out of each other. And so that's going to be fun to watch. Yumura, which is somebody that I'm not very that familiar with. Kanemaru is somebody who is fun to watch. Gabriel Kidd's kind of a young lion, and versus Ishimori, which is he's one of the Bullet Club guys now. To kind of explain the young lion thing here, Karl, I think this is worth taking a bit of a moment to kind of explain this, because this is something that is very unique and very special, in my opinion, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. When you start in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you are essentially just a generic, you're essentially yourself. And what happens in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you start off as what's called a young lion, and you work and then you earn your gimmick / character, or however you want to kind of word it. You need to earn your stripes. You need to, pay your dues, and then you finally you kind of earn that full-on kind of persona. That's something that is very unique, and I think very cool with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
It's essentially a way of them showcasing the rookies and how they're coming up. So that's exactly what they do. When you're a young lion, that's what you are. You're the rookie. You're going out there. You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to, get yourself over with the people. And then if you are able to, then you kind of move up to that next level. So exactly. It's a very interesting way that they do it, and I'm a fan of it.
Yep, it feels very traditional, and I enjoy that aspect. So coming off of this half of the bracket here, Karl, I've got Hiromu Takahashi and Okada coming out of this half of the bracket for the semis.
So coming down to it on 7-3, I would say we're going to have Yota going up against Minoru Suzuki.
Wow.
Yes.
You got Suzuki going through, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's go on the right half of the bracket here. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi, which, of course, is essentially New Japan's version of John Cena. He's a guy that's been very much at the forefront of what's been going on currently with New Japan. He's very much been an ambassador for professional wrestling over in Japan. And even when they met with the government, and it was several of the promotions, I mean, Tana was right at the forefront there, so it was very cool to see. It would be him versus Tai Chi. This is another match that I have kind of circled that I definitely want to watch here, Karl. We have Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. That is a main event anywhere.
Yes.
Ryusuke Taguchi, which is he's essentially kind of a silly gimmick inside of professional wrestling. He's essentially kind of like a rugby player type of gimmick. He is kind of like a coach kind of persona. One of his moves, he does basically like a hip check as his kind of one of his main moves. But he's very talented and actually has quite the repertoire in the ring, going up against Sonata. Then we have Sho versus Shingo Takagi. Now, Shingo is a guy that you need to keep your eye on, not just you, Karl, but anybody if you're going to watch this tournament. If you're new to New Japan Pro Wrestling, Shingo is... It's hard to kind of explain without actually seeing him, because he's a bit of a bigger dude, but I mean, he is intense and he moves very quickly, and he's very, very good in there. So keep your eye on him. We have Tenzan versus Yoshihashi. Then we have Yo versus Bushi, Kojima versus Evil, and then Hiroki Goto versus Yujiro Takahashi, which is another one of those Bullet Club guys. So for me, coming out of this half of the bracket here, I got Tanahashi, and I've got Yo coming out of this half of the bracket.
I agree with one part of that. I agree with Yo. I'm thinking Ibushi. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, like you said, Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr., those two are going to put on a clinic. They definitely are. That is going to be a fantastic matchup to see. But I think Ibushi is going to continue on all the way through, and we're going to have Ibushi Yo in the semis.
Cool. Interesting pick for me for the final in Osaka Joe Hall. I have Hiromu Takahashi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. So we got the Takahashi versus Tanahashi coming from in the final, and I think that Hiromu is going to be the one to take this whole entire tournament here, Karl. This is something that they've been putting a lot of energy behind, and who better to put over this it's not even fair to call him an up-and-comer because he's been around for a little while. You know, he's had some issues with injury, not his fault. And Tanahashi is just great at making his opponents look good and doesn't mind losing occasionally to put somebody over. So I could very well see that being the outcome. And then he will likely earn some kind of title opportunity so he can get his hands on Mr. Naito, which I think is the goal, to get Hiromu to get his shot at Naito, because I think that's what their whole thing that they're going towards here.
I mean, it could very well be. I would like to maybe see a little bit of a swerve type of thing come in. I mean, what I'm coming down to here is we're probably going to come down to Ibushi and Tsuji.
Interesting.
Yota Tsuji.
That would be quite the move to basically go with, and it's not, you can't call Ibushi an unknown, but I think, Tsuji is definitely somebody that I'm not that familiar with, but if they really wanted to kind of go push with the new, that's an interesting approach. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm thinking, is that, because after all of this COVID-19 stuff that's been happening, starting fresh, getting something fresh in there, and why not do something like that? Right. And I think that would be a smart move on their part. Every move that they have is very smart. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, so there you go. That's kind of our picks for what's going to happen. As this kind of unfolds, we'll make sure and update you as well on the podcast here. And also, I will actually be appearing on the next episode of Destino with Mr. Michael Jargo to break down, the first couple shows here to. I'm excited to do that, and that's another to kind of plug another show here. Make sure and check out Destino, a New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast done by our friend Michael Jargo. It is absolutely fantastic. Of course, anything that he does is fantastic. Yeah. And as a friend of ours, we got to support him as well. So make sure and check that out, because I'll be on there too. Occasionally, I'm going to be kind of an on. There's going to basically be like a rotation of guests there, so you'll see me on there on the regular. So that's going to be very cool. So moving away from New Japan Pro Wrestling to, again, something non-WWE here. We're talking MLW here, Karl. This is something pretty interesting. It looks like they're moving on up, just like Turnbuckle Talk. Things are looking up for MLW. They have signed with DAZN, which from talking to you before going live here, called DAZN.
That's what I've been told.
DAZN.
It is DAZN. Over in the UK. Like, I mean, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Major League Wrestling, MLW, going on to another platform, now getting onto a platform that is online streaming service over there. Like, I mean, that's fantastic. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's good for them, absolutely. My only concern kind of going with that here, Karl, is what does that mean for their YouTube channel? Because that's largely how I've kind of consumed Major League Wrestling content, and we get to see the whole entire shows on there. Is that something that you think is going to continue, or does this deal basically cannibalize that YouTube channel?
No, definitely not. Their YouTube channel is definitely going to continue. I mean, not everybody has access to the UK stuff, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if it would be murderous for them to drop their YouTube channel and not show stuff on their YouTube. It would just be suicide for them to do that. And I mean, it's not. No. They're going to continue with their YouTube stuff, as well as having it over there on that platform over the UK.
Yeah, because that's my concern with them on this platform now, and especially if that's something you got to pay for. Are they still going to allow? They're not going to be able to show their whole free shows on YouTube on that channel. I don't see how they would be able to do that, because then why would people want to pay for it on this other platform? That's where I'm kind of coming from and where my concern lies.
Yeah, I don't know. This might be like a secondary show or something like that they're doing. I mean, until everything really comes out, we really don't know, right? So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of time before we actually find out, but we do know that this is something that has happened. They are going to be on DAZN.
Yep.
So that's about all that we can really say about it right now, is that we know that they will be there.
Yeah, and I'm actually a little behind on MLW content itself. I have to go and actually start watching some of it again, because I am that and NWA I'm kind of both behind on. And just you got to think too that hopefully they can hang on to some of the talent that they have, some of the top-notch talent that they have, because you got to think some of them have got to be on the radar of some of the biggest companies around, WWE, New Japan, AEW. And I'm talking namely Jacob Fatu. That guy. You got to think MLW is not going to be able to hang on to him forever unless they come into some money, because that dude is going to be in demand.
Oh yes.
So you would think that WWE or New Japan, one of those guys, are going to snag him up at some point.
Definitely at some point.
All right, man. Well, let's move on to our next topic here, and this is kind of one that we can kind of sink our teeth into a little bit here, and we're going to go through with our picks for our top 10 wrestlers who are currently active in the world of professional wrestling. And this is kind of in no real particular order. Like, I haven't ranked these at all. I don't know if you have for your list here, Karl. I just kind of picked my top 10. So do you want to go first with your first pick, or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead. Go first.
My first pick is actually coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Is involved in the New Japan Cup, which is, again, very cool to see that this is coming back. New Japan Pro Wrestling is coming back, and we are talking Mr. Kazuchika Okada is one of my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all, not of all time, just currently active in the ring. You just have to go and watch one of his matches to see what I'm talking about. This guy is, I like to call him kind of the Randy Orton of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He came from some pretty humble beginnings, even had spent some time in TNA at the time, and even got to work with Mr. Vince Russo. And he actually credits Vince with helping him to kind of work that camera to kind of be that wrestling character to build on the in-ring stuff. And he's the complete package. And one of the loudest pops I've heard in a long time was when he came out from the curtain at All In. That pop, that crowd was just unbelievable. And that match that he had with Marty at All In, it still stands up as one of my favorites. So there you go. That's my first pick, is Mr. Kazuchika Okada.
And again, as Big Joe mentioned, not in any particular order, Marty Scurll. The villain, Marty Scurll. Now we're talking my top 10 active professional wrestlers right now. Marty Scurll just seems to have everything going for him. With Ring of Honor, being able to go into Ring of Honor, and now really doing some really good stuff with them, even backstage work with Ring of Honor now. So this has been fantastic, and I am super excited for whatever is going to come from Ring of Honor with Marty Scurll behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, and getting to work with the NWA as well. He's been in the Crockett Cup.
And New Japan. He's worked with New Japan as well a little bit. Yep,
he's definitely spent some time over there. Right now, he probably can't, just due to, I guess he technically could if he wanted to with the Ring of Honor. It's still uncertain how that whole relationship is going, but we'll see as 2020 kind of continues on, how things are there. My next pick is actually coming from WWE, believe it or not. I actually have a kind of an interesting mix in my list here. Next up, I have Mr. Tyler Breeze. I have him in here because he is somebody, I think probably in my list here, the one that probably gets the least amount of credit for being as good as he is. You just have to go and watch pretty much any of his matches, especially one that he had with... Wow, I kind of lost my train of thought. We're talking Jushin Thunder Liger in NXT. Wow, this guy not only looks great. He makes his opponent look great. He sells his ass off. He works hard. He's somebody that just doesn't get the recognition for being as good of a professional wrestler as he is, and he's Canadian to boot. So that's just an added bonus. He's just somebody that he just doesn't get the credit he deserves, and he is damn good in there, and people don't know.
People really don't know. You're right. same thing with this next guy on my list. People really don't know. And you really got to go and check out New Japan Pro Wrestling for this guy here. We're talking Mr. Chase Owens.
Yes.
Member of the Bullet Club. Pretty much an original. Isn't an original, but pretty much an original, and has stuck with the Bullet Club forever. Amazing talent. I've seen him live. I've seen him live here in my hometown, Sault Ste. Marie.
Yep.
I mean, amazing guy as well. Like he's pretty down to earth and really cool. But I mean, his work is just fantastic, and I am super excited. Super excited to have him on my list.
He really plays up that heel character, but even for a smaller audience too. I mean, he does it so well. He plays off members in the crowd, and it was just fantastic. Next up for myself, I have a female talent. I do have a couple on my list, and we're talking Miss Mayu Iwatani. Now, I first saw her when they did the ROH Supercard in Madison Square Garden. Her match there, she won me over in that match. Her match with Kelly Klein for that ROH for the Women of Honor title. She didn't. It was just one of those ones where I wasn't really expecting a whole lot, and she won me over as a fan. Those Japanese girls, I mean, they start training at such an early age, and they get so
like 9.
Yeah, and just they're able to really refine their craft. And she's one of these ones. I mean, she's just so smooth in there, and she can even do some of the aerial stuff. And just you just have to watch her match. I mean, she's done some stuff in Stardom as well, which is essentially tied in with New Japan Pro Wrestling now. And yeah, she's fantastic. Just search her up on YouTube, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
So since you decided to go with a female, I will go with a female as well. Actually, I have 2 females on my list here, but this first one, oh, good, perfect.
Yeah, I have 2.
This first one, actually, I have to kind of say, our thoughts are with you, and we hope that you recover soon and that you get better soon. Chris Statlander was just recently injured,
torn ACL.
Yeah. So, but I'm super excited about everything Chris Statlander, like this whole gimmick that she has going on, this whole like alien outer space, like just going boop to your nose. Like, I mean, I love it. I love it. It is so great. And she plays it so well, but then you kind of see, and I know for some people, like, they hate this, but she kind of breaks kayfabe a little bit.
She does a little bit.
And so like when she's doing interviews and stuff, she's herself.
Yeah. Right.
She throws in a little bit of the Chris Statlander in there, but for the majority of it, she's just herself. And it just, I love it. I love it. Chris Statlander, amazing.
Absolutely. Before I give my next pick here, any of our listeners, if you want to throw some of your favorites in the comments, feel free to do so, and we can briefly discuss them as well. Next up on my list is an interesting one, to say the least here, Karl. He is, in my opinion, one of the more interesting characters, even borderline wacky sometimes. And we're talking Mr. Dalton Castle from over in Ring of Honor. And he's one of these guys that is just fantastic in the ring, but then just character and mic work. I mean, this guy is just, you just have to watch him. I know I'm using that expression for a few of these people here, but you just have to watch Dalton Castle. I mean, he is entertaining as hell, and he can back it up in the ring.
Definitely he
can.
And
also one of these guys here, Karl, that I think is probably really benefiting from this time off, do this whole COVID-19 thing, because, I mean, he has been beat up over the last few years. So hopefully this is doing him some good, and he can come back and really kick some ass.
I hope so as well. He was not on my list, but I mean, come on, people. Trying to pick your top 10, it's really hard. Yeah. And I mean, he should have been on my list, but he didn't make it.
There you go.
Somebody that did make it, though, Jon Moxley.
Ooh.
From the very beginning of his, like, from CZW, let me get that out right, CZW, doing those death matches, to coming over to being Dean Ambrose within the WWE, leaving the WWE, going to AEW, and becoming Jon Moxley once again. Fantastic. I've always been a fan of Jon Moxley and all of his work.
Well, I'll always remember from this newer incarnation of John Moxley was just the way that everything lined up for him to make the move from WWE to AEW. It's like just the timing of everything just went in his favor, and was able to make that debut coming through the crowd, and one of the louder pops that I've heard in a while. So that was pretty cool, and definitely a good pick. Mine, like I said, I'm really kind of mixing up my picks here. The next one I have on my list is Mr. Sami Callihan. This is a guy that he was in WWE as I think it was that Sam Crow character or whatever, and you could see that he had some talent there, and WWE just didn't realize it. And once he went back to the independent scene, I mean, he was appearing all over the place and became what people refer to as the Draw. He was a guy that basically just took the ball and ran with it. And when it comes to heel personas, I mean, this guy just embodies what it means to be a bad guy. Even in interviews, a lot of time he keeps the kayfabe kind of going to a certain extent. I mean, this is a guy that just, again, another big ball drop from the WWE. If they could have realized what they had with him, they could have been printing money with his face on it. And unfortunately,
they definitely could have. You're right.
Unfortunately for them, but positive for him because, I mean, he has done extremely well outside of the WWE. And again, another example of you can be very successful outside of the WWE.
That's right. You definitely can. My next pick, a guy that I personally met and have always been a fan of his work. I mean, I think we, the people, can agree that Jake Hager is definitely on a top 10 list because he's on mine.
Yep. There you go. My next pick is my second female on my list, and we're talking Mercedes Martinez. Now, she is currently over in NXT, and arguably one of the best female wrestlers in the business right now. She was even involved in the Mae Young Classic. Again, somebody that you just have to, it's really hard to describe into words. You just have to, she is just fantastic in that ring. Character-wise, there's not really a whole ton there, but with her, it's mainly the in-ring stuff that where you really get where I get my enjoyment of watching her. I mean, she just she's a smooth operator in that ring.
So I'll give my second female pick. People are gonna hate on me for this, but Alexa Bliss.
Ooh.
I've always been a fan of Alexa Bliss. From what she was doing in NXT to just seeing her grow and progress from, I think everybody's hating on that. We just had a whole bunch of viewers, and I mentioned Alexa Bliss, and the viewership went down. What is going on, people?
No love for Alexa
Bliss is a goddess. Come on. But yeah, my top 10 active right now. And my second female is Alexa Bliss.
Oh, very cool. My next pick is actually a gentleman that is actually right over my right shoulder here. We were talking Mr. Matt Taven, former Ring of Honor World Champion. This is a guy that, just personally for myself, I've had the opportunity to meet a handful of times. And this is a guy that, another one of these ones where he goes underappreciated. For especially the in-ring work that he does. I mean, character-wise, you can take him or leave him. I've always enjoyed the Kingdom, the character that he's played. We've got to see some of that in person in Sault Ste. Marie. Became Ring of Honor World Champion at Madison Square Garden. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that, Karl. I mean, he had his crowning achievement and arguably one of the best places that you can have it. I mean, and this guy... Oh, just another one of these ones. You just have to go. You can watch for free right now. Go on to Ring of Honor's YouTube channel. You can watch the ROH G1 Supercard, and you can see him win the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden. It's hard to even put into words because I mean, just he's a guy that I know personally, and it was so cool to see him accomplish his dream on the biggest stage possible. And for that, he belongs on my list.
A name that people are not going to expect to come from me as my next pick on this list is Kota Ibushi. A New Japan Pro Wrestling staple there. I mean, you really can't say much more than go and find something on YouTube from Kota Ibushi, and you will be pleasantly surprised. You will be very happy with what you see, and you will want to see more.
One of those guys where thankfully he finally signed somewhere. I know a lot of people are saying, kind of being a free agent, you can kind of go wherever you want. That's all fine and dandy until a certain point, because otherwise a company's not going to put a lot of weight behind you if you're not going to stick with them. So it was nice to see him actually sign with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then we saw him, win that Intercontinental title, and eventually he will be a world champion over there. It's just a matter of time.
Oh yeah.
So next up on my list is also somebody from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We were talking Mr. Tetsuya Naito. This is a guy that pairs up very nicely with your previous pick with Kota Ibushi. I mean, these are two guys that when they have a match, they have such great chemistry, but it look like they're just killing each other out there at the same time. But I mean, they obviously know what they're doing there. But this is a guy that just entertainment factors through the roof. This is a guy that WWE probably has on their radar, and I'm just hoping that he doesn't go there. He's definitely one of these guys where he belongs in Japanese wrestling. That's where he shines his best. He would just be another Shinsuke Nakamura, unfortunately, at this point over there. And I really want to see him stay over in the Japan side of things, because I mean, he is fantastic. He's put on some of the best matches, like with Kenny Omega, with Kota Ibushi, with Okada. I mean, his matches are like rank way up there. I mean, this guy is supremely talented. You just have to watch. If you haven't seen him, you're missing out.
My next pick, let's throw another New Japan Pro Wrestling star in there who would pair up well with both of these last two names. We're looking Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yes.
Yeah, like, wow. Like, are you kidding me? How many picks are we going to have from? This is actually my last pick from New Japan Pro Wrestling, to be honest with you. But like so many names coming out of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You just got to go watch New Japan. You really do. And then you'll kind of see these names that we're talking about, and you'll know. You will definitely know exactly what we're talking about, what we mean when we say top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up on my list is a name that Karl probably isn't expecting, and listeners are definitely not expecting. I first saw this guy on the NWA 70th anniversary show, and as soon as I saw him talking on the mic and working the ring, I knew that he was going to be somebody of some significance. So we were talking Mr.
It's the question mark, isn't it?
No, it's not the question mark. We were talking Mr. Sammy Guevara. And he was absolutely fantastic in that show. And he kind of stood out and kind of went under a lot of people's radar, and is now working for AEW. I think he's absolutely fantastic in that ring. I will say, though, a little controversial maybe, and I think maybe I'll get some heat with some people. I think he's working for the wrong company, Karl, because in AEW, it feels like he's kind of not being himself. Like he's kind of being something that he's being scripted to do. I think that he belongs... A little bit hokey. I think that he belongs in New Japan Pro Wrestling in that junior heavyweight division. I think he would excel over there, and he would just kind of naturally kind of find a character instead of being shoehorned into one that he's not necessarily comfortable with. And don't get me wrong, he's still doing well where he's at, but I think that he's kind of in the wrong place. Maybe I'll get some heat for that, but that's just my opinion.
Maybe, but your opinion is your opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way it is.
Yep.
My next pick. Okay, so
this will be your last pick, I believe.
No, I should have 2 left there.
Okay, because I only have one more after Sammy.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay. So AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Your new WWE Intercontinental Champion. I mean, it almost seems like a demotion for him right now to go down to the Intercontinental Championship, but maybe he can bring a little bit of prestige back to that title. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to see, but all around, no matter where AJ Styles has been, whether it was in Impact, whether it was in, TNA, whether it was, New Japan as a member of the Bullet Club,
Ring of Honor,
like everywhere this guy has been, and he has done phenomenal for himself. Just to kind of throw out a little bit to you here right now, we're talking about AJ Styles and let's say The Undertaker and this WrestleMania thing that they did. The Undertaker if you haven't watched the Last Ride series that's going on, episode 4 came out, and they kind of gave this cool little teaser at the end of episode 4 where the Undertaker goes, AJ Styles, well, I just have to, because well, it's AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Right? You get a pop like that and a push
For
like
sure.
that and a compliment like that from the Undertaker. You're somebody.
And arguably had one of the cooler debuts in WWE. I mean, when he debuted at the 2016 Royal Rumble with Roman Reigns standing in that ring, I mean, it was fantastic. For myself, and it's nothing against AJ as a person, as a wrestler. I think that his time in WWE, probably the least significant of everything that he's done in his career, though. That's the strange part. He got to the biggest company in the world, and I think that's where he's made the least impact, in my opinion. I mean, in Impact and in New Japan and Ring of Honor, I mean, just he did excellent in all those places, and the WWE almost feels like a step down for him. As weird as that sounds, that's just kind of how I feel. All right, so for my last pick here is actually somebody that you picked earlier on in your list here, Karl, and we're talking Mr. Marty Scurll is my final pick. And I mean, how could you not go with the villain? I mean, he is the perfect match of character and in-ring worker that you can possibly get. I mean, that entrance, and it's so perfectly timed when the music kind of plays and then that real kind of hard bass kind of drop happens is when he kind of finally steps out, and just it's so well timed, and in that ring, I mean, just he is absolutely fantastic. And none of these guys, if you're just a WWE fan and you have not watched a Marty Scurll match, what are you doing? Pause this podcast now, go watch his match, and then come back. Because it's you just have to go check out the villain. I mean, he was even on the verge of signing with the WWE at one point. Probably they wanted him, but if you have not watched a Marty Scurll match, you are doing yourself a horrible disservice.
Big Joe decides to end on the villain. Let me end with, right now, arguably the greatest villain in professional wrestling right now as my last pick on my top 10. Maxwell Jacob Freeman.
Ooh.
MJF. Man, this guy, I tell you, holy jumping.
Yeah.
This guy has just all of it. When you talk about having it, MJF has it.
Yeah.
And he can, like, his work on the mic, his work in the ring, everything, when he stays in character. Dude, I was on the Jericho Cruise, part 2, and literally photo sessions with MJF was literally him sitting down in a chair, not giving a damn. People come up for pictures. He would be looking down on his phone, texting or typing away or doing whatever. He stayed in that character.
Fantastic.
Yeah, like amazing. MJF. Yeah. I do have to give one honorable mention though.
Okay.
Many people don't know about this guy, but you have to go and take a look at some Canadian Wrestling's Elite and our friend over there, Danny Duggan. He has done some work with the WWE, not necessarily in ring work, but he has done like security, the quote unquote security.
Yeah.
But Danny Duggan, like the work that he does and the grind that guy gives, I mean, he is constant go with this business. And I mean, just for that alone, for the amount of love and respect that he has for this business, top 10.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would have to give Danny an honorable mention as well. Just given that he's a friend of ours, and then you already said it all, I would just be repeating it. So he's one of the hardest working guys that I know in the professional wrestling business. So props to Danny. All right, man. So let's go to our match of the week segment. I can let you go first because I gotta bring up my pick. I think I may have lost the picture, so I gotta go and find it. And what was your pick for match of the week here, Karl?
My pick for match of the week is actually coming from Impact Wrestling. We are looking TJP and Fallah Bahh against the Rascals for my match of the week.
Nice.
I was just super impressed with everything in this match. The Rascals, flippy high flyers. TJP, again, can be a flippy high flyer, but can wrestle as well and do some ground stuff. Fallah Bahh, really looking great right now, losing some weight, toning himself up, looking fan-freaking-tastic, and moving around in that ring like those other three guys did as well. All around, everything about this was just great. I loved this entire match. If you have the opportunity to see it, just watch it. It was a phenomenal match. Go and watch TJP and Falaba versus the Rascals from this past Impact Wrestling.
Well, there you go. And I think probably for the first time ever, both of our picks are going to be tag team matches. I don't think that's ever happened. Although mine is a 6-man tag match, specifically coming from the Project Together. I hope I'm saying that the Project Together special from New Japan Pro Wrestling, which actually just happened earlier today. To mention briefly, New Japan is really big on factions, something that they've always kind of done. So this is Chaos, which is a very, very large kind of loose kind of affiliation of guys, versus Los Ingobernables de Japón. We were talking specifically Kazuchika Okada with Sho and Yo versus Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Hiromu Takahashi. I mean, these are some of the best talents in New Japan Pro Wrestling, all in one match. I mean, you can say so much good stuff about each individual guy. For me, the real two standouts, though, are obviously Okada and Shingo Takagi. I mentioned him earlier when we were talking about the New Japan Cup bracket. Shingo is a guy you have to go and watch. If you haven't watched one of his matches, you have to go and watch. You'll be instantly impressed. This is a guy that is just, he's that kind of mid-sized kind of powerhouse guy that just, he's super intense. He moves fast and just, he's entertaining as hell to watch. And this match was absolutely fantastic. And this whole show is really kind of setting up the New Japan Cup, and it was really cool because the whole show was just shy of 3 hours. And I got to say, Karl, compared to WWE television, the time flew by. Because I was able to just kind of sit there and enjoy the wrestling and be there kind of picking apart and being miserable as I would be probably watching SmackDown or Raw.
I get you. I feel you.
All right, man. So before we take our break, let's see if there's any kind of breaking news happening in the world of professional wrestling. Yeah, a lot of it tends to kind of be negative revolving around WWE. So I don't know how much of that I want to kind of mention, but I guess, we'll just kind of mention briefly that at Backlash, which happened this past week, it would have been on Sunday. I mean, the day before, I had totally forgotten that the show was even happening. Like it kind of snuck up on me out of nowhere, and it was there. This so-called greatest match ever between Randy and Edge actually resulted in sounds like a pretty severe injury for Edge, which is very unfortunate. I will say, at least it's not a neck injury, Karl, because that was, I think, both of our main concerns with him coming back was that he was going to re-injure that neck. But it looks like it's some other kind of injury. It looks like either like a bicep or a tricep injury. But that's probably still a good 4 to 6 months that he'll be away.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and I mean, honestly, it just sucks. It definitely does. I mean, especially because he's, on this amazing comeback that I mean, it sucks, and it's terrible. Yeah, I mean, other than that, really, I'm not seeing too much more when it comes to breaking news right now. We talked about Chris Statlander. She unfortunately was injured as well and will be out for a little bit of time, and that was actually confirmed by her. So like that was on all of her social media. She actually confirmed it. Like I'm looking through things right now and I am not seeing anything for any big breaking news.
It's all little negative WWE stuff. I mean, we've beat that dead horse so many times now that it would just feel kind of mean at this point. And that's one thing that I want to try and kind of focus here on this podcast here, Karl, is some more positives. And I think that's why you're probably going to be hearing a lot more New Japan and a lot of non-WWE stuff. I think we're going to kind of branch out a little bit and start covering some more of these other companies, because honestly, it's a little depressing talking about WWE quite often. So.
Well, I mean, that's just you, though. I mean, you have this hate on for WWE. You know.
Hey,
I
still want them to be good.
Right now,
I still want them to be good. I still want them to be good.
You've become one of those people that you were always talking about. Yeah, I'm talking to you right now. you're always talking about these people who, you're just, you don't watch anything else and you're just pissed off because it's not WWE. Well, now you're on the flip side of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to watch wrestling that doesn't piss me off. That's what it's come down to for me. I will
You're
say,
just unfortunately letting it piss you off. You're not seeing the good stuff from it.
Yeah.
You're in the mindset that the WWE is going to piss you off, so it's pissing you off.
Well, when they're doing that stuff like with Jeff Hardy, whatnot, it's hard to not get upset. To be honest, there.
So then don't look at that. Look at the other stuff that's happening.
There's
a
it's
3-hour show.
It's hard.
You can't find one good thing in 3 hours.
It's hard.
Then there's something wrong with you.
It's hard. I will say just back briefly on. I believe it was your final pick that was on your list. I wanted to make mention. You talk with MJF. He's a guy that even like the king of like smack talking and BS talking, Jim Cornette can't really find much wrong with this guy.
Right?
You've done well when even Cornette can't crap on you. So just saying,
exactly.
just say, and not supporting Jim Cornette by any means, but just saying, you've done well when even Corny can't really talk crap about you.
That's right. So we are going to take our quick little break here, people.
Yep.
Our microphones will not be on for this portion. We're going to have a graphic come up on the screen here for you, though, just to kind of give you guys a little bit so that we can cut off this one section so that we can save it.
Yep.
Big Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, and we're going to take a brief break here, Karl. I'm going to come back with our Showstopper segment for this week, and we're going to talk social media when it comes to professional wrestling and disinformation and misinformation being spread. So we'll be right back. This week's episode is brought to you by Collar and Elbow. Visit collarandelbowbrand.com where you can find the Brooklyn's own Beast Shad Gaspar shirt, where 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Shad's family. All right, it's Big Joe and Karl Karufel back here on Turnbuckle Talk.
Yes, we are at the final segment that we have, the one that we like to affectionately call our Showstopper Segment.
Yeah, absolutely, Karl. And this one is a bit of an interesting one here, and one I think we've been kind of meaning to tackle for a little while. And I figured that we'd kind of sink our teeth into it this week here. And we're talking social media when it comes to wrestling fans and how disinformation, I believe, is probably the best way to call it, how that kind of gets spread. This stemmed largely from something that came up here recently. I'm just scrolling through to find the particular post, and I just found it. This was I believe it was from Twitter, from Shotzi Blackheart, who was a wrestler in NXT. And this was the post here. I can't stop crying because I'm going to be an uncle. My sister found out she was having a girl, Mickey Jean. She is going to be a badass. And this is what kind of spawned this topic here, Karl, because when that came out, then basically the internet just started kind of going crazy. Oh, Shotzi's a man, or she's like a transgender person. And then that started spreading as a news kind of item. People, you got to have some facts before you start spreading misinformation, because this is how fake news starts and spreads like wildfire.
Exactly. I challenge anybody to show me that they have been perfect when it comes to them typing something out.
Yeah.
That they have not let autocorrect catch anything
This is
wrong
me all the
with
time.
them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes a typo happens, people. Why you gotta be so, I'm gonna say it, dickish?
It's true.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, come on. That's just ridiculous right now. There's no need for that. I mean, somebody made a typo.
Yeah.
Does that, right? I mean, come on.
I don't think that it was even that. I mean, I think that she was just putting this post up in character. Because if you watch NXT, which I've been a little bit behind on, she kind of basically plays this kind of persona. I think that's really all it was. It could have been maybe a typing mistake or a grammar mistake, possibly. I think she was just in character. But I mean, the internet just kind of ran wild with this, and this isn't the first time this kind of things happen. And there's so many of these keyboard warriors that we like to kind of refer to that find some little piece of information, and they think that they're a news reporter, and then they put this out there, and then they think that they're consider themselves a journalist. Get the hell out of here.
Right? I'm the same way. Like, just No, you definitely are not a journalist, especially when you're spreading, stuff like that. I mean, that's just crazy ridiculous right now that you would even think about doing something like that.
When it comes to us and Turnbuckle Talks, I know what some people are maybe thinking. Oh, well, you guys are just kind of being like the keyboard warriors, except you got the microphones in your mouth giving your opinions. What you have to realize when Karl and I are putting together these topics for the most part, throughout the week, we're usually kind of conversing back and forth on these topics. And if it's something that's a little bit gossipy or kind of borderline dirt sheet stuff, sometimes what we'll do is we'll talk back and forth. And if we see it in multiple places that are reputable, then maybe we'll kind of cover it, although we tend to kind of steer clear of some of the stuff that's questionable. But for even like a news topic, you need to kind of see it confirmed by multiple places that are legitimate before you can put it out there as what you want to say is actual news. Otherwise, normally, it could be false.
When we talk about like legitimate places, we're talking the actual companies themselves. So if something's happening with somebody in the WWE, we're looking for WWE to say that this has happened. Whether it's Impact, whether it's Ring of Honor, whether it's AEW, no matter where it is, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for them to say that it is, or that it is somebody within the company that is in a high standing. So if something comes out from Vince, or something comes out from Triple H, or something comes out from like Cody, Young Bucks, Jericho, something like that, then we're classifying that as a reputable source. Because why are you going to do something to damage your own company and your own stars, right?
Yeah, and one thing too that we're also blessed with it, Karl, is with doing this podcast and being with the Roar Network and being involved with Hitting the Marks, is we have a lot of those people at our disposal as well. A lot of times, leading up to an episode, I'll share some of these topics, whether it be with Ryan Bowman, whether it be with Jargo or Rick, and I'll say, hey, here's kind of our idea. A lot of times too, when they were still doing Hitting the Marks, is because we didn't want to overlap on topics too much, and then they'll go, oh, I see that topic there. I haven't really seen much about that. You might not want to do that. So, we have at our disposal people who are really knowledgeable as well to play off as well. Like I'll share an idea with Jargo and like, hey, we're going to do this on Turnbuckle Talk. He's like, don't do that. That's fake news. I'm like, okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know so that we didn't have to find that out as we're kind of doing it. So a big plus there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we got a comment here from Don Lewis.
Oh, cool.
Says, makes you look better for looking into something and not flying off the handle. Definitely. Like, I mean, we don't want to be classified as one of those dirt sheets. We don't want to be classified as those fake news that's out there. We definitely don't. We want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. We want to make sure that all of our eggs are perfectly there. We want to make sure that everything is good before we bring that out to you. Especially we talked about earlier with like Chris Statlander. I looked around. I saw it in a few different places going around. And then I saw that Chris Statlander had actually put out there that this was legitimate.
Right.
That's why we talked about it.
Yep, absolutely. And while Don is in the chat here, hey, if you want to give us your pick for your favorite current active wrestler, hit us up and we'll talk about it briefly. Yes, we are not CNN.
That's right.
We try and be as legitimate as we can. Nothing against CNN, especially with us being Canadians, but they haven't been the most reliable out there. And and even just outside of professional wrestling here, Karl, that's something that it's just kind of been something that's come along with social media, is that it is just tailor-made for spreading disinformation. It's tailor-made for it.
It definitely is, because like you said earlier, those keyboard warriors, they hide behind that keyboard. We got nothing to hide. Look, here's my face.
Yep.
You can see me. There I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not hiding behind nothing.
No.
Because I know that we make sure that we are finding the correct information. Yeah,
absolutely. And it can be really difficult to kind of discern and to kind of pick what is legitimate or not. And that's one thing that it can be a little bit challenging doing what we do to pick topics to talk about. Is it can be really difficult to talk about something, and then you find out right before you can record, hey, this isn't legitimate at all. Okay, no, we can scrap that and go with something different. But hey, it all kind of comes with the territory. But I mean, that just it's misinformation or disinformation, or however you want to call it. I mean, just say it is rampant these days. Rampant.
It is.
And not just with wrestling, with politics, with music, with movies, with COVID-19. I mean, just there's so much incorrect information out there, and people need to think for themselves a little bit. Do some research for yourself. Don't just believe everything kind of at face value, and you'd be doing yourself a huge favor by kind of doing some research. Don saying, OMG, I just watched my very first AEW show. What a show. And I'm liking Jungle Boy and his giant teammate. Yes.
Luchasaurus.
The Jurassic Express, as they're known. They're definitely one of the most over stables over in that company for sure.
They definitely are.
Cool. All right, man. You got anything else that you want to cover this week in the world of professional wrestling before we call it an episode?
I don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered everything that we wanted to cover this week. I have nothing else that I really want to cover at all. I just want to say again, thank you to everybody that's actually tuned in. This has been fantastic. Two quick things for you. You see the hat that I'm wearing, Collar and Elbow brand. Make sure you go and check out collarandelbowbrand.com. From there, take a look at all the stuff that they've got. They've got this hat available. They've got t-shirts. They've got shorts. They've got stickers. They've got all these different things available for you. Use our promo code JKPodcast at the checkout. You're going to get 10% off your entire order. Fantastic stuff there. And then, so our next one here, brand new. Thank you very much to Phoenix. That's how it's pronounced. It's pronounced Phoenix. FNX. Go to fnx.grsm.io/TBTalkPod or go to fnxfit.com. Either or, use our promo code TBTalkPod. You're going to get 15% off all the merchandise and supplements that are on that site. It is fantastic, the stuff there. I have ordered myself a t-shirt and I have some super greens coming. I will let everybody know how the super greens are when they arrive. Fantastic product, super greens. I've heard about them for years, and I'm very, very interested to try out the FNX Super Greens. So make sure you go and check them out as well. Again, promo code TBTalkPod at fnxfit.com and promo code JKPodcast at collarandelbowbrand.com.
Yeah, I remember when you sent all that information, that Phoenix, the Super Greens. That's something I think I want to check out myself too. And it's apparently to promote gut health, I believe is the way that they refer to it as. And that's something I think I could probably benefit from, especially being a night shift worker. It seems like that combination of that and my diet sometimes doesn't seem to agree with my stomach. So something like that might be kind of a good thing.
That's right.
One more thing briefly before we go to, when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, those of you who are maybe have never checked it out before and are interested in that, if you're maybe moving away from WWE, or if you want, you're looking for that alternative, you want to figure out how to do it, hit me up on social media. You can message me on Facebook, and I can kind of walk you through the process of signing up for New Japan World. It's not very difficult, but if you haven't done it before and you're not sure, just hit me up and I can kind of walk you through the process, and you can start enjoying some of the best pro wrestling on the planet. Not necessarily to take away from WWE, but if you are looking for an alternative, I can definitely steer you in the right direction and help you get signed up for that if you need that. Definitely. All right, man.
That's a wrap, eh?
I think that is a wrap, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Have a nice day.
It's me, it's an R&B to beat. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows we have. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.